So I wanted to take a minute and talk about something. You know, I've been a musician for 24 years, and I've been sitting here making videos like this for the last 2.5 years, give or take. And one thing I've noticed, anytime I call out a famous musician or disagree with that musician's stance on something, I automatically get told in the comment section that I'm just jealous, that my career never took off like theirs, and that I never had the hits that they had. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about myself and how I see things so you can understand where I stand on all this. At no point in the last 24 years have I ever had the desire to want to move to Nashville and become an artist there. I never wanted to be a songwriter there, and I never wanted to be an artist there. And the reason being is I have absolutely loathed 95% of the music that's came out of that town over the last 24 years. I can't stand the bro country genre. I know over the years I ticked off band members because I wouldn't learn new shit. You know, I would find certain songs by artists like, say, Jamie Johnson or Chris Stapleton or Joe Nichols, Dierks Bentley, somebody like that, somebody that put out a song that sounded halfway country. I would cover those just to be able to say, look, I can do a new song too. But I purposely avoided doing any songs by Jason Aldean or Luke Bryan or Florida Georgia Line because I was writing songs about where I grew up and where I came from, and I didn't feel like that the songs I was writing should be played next to theirs, because I was trying to paint a picture of what I saw in Appalachia, and what I saw them doing, I don't ever see when I drive down the roads here. You know, there are a bunch of underwear models and Barbie dolls dancing around swimming pools and campfires and driving their truck through the mud, and I don't never see that shit around here. So I wrote a whole lot about the dark side, the things that we face here, the drug problems that we've had, and the problems we've had with the coal industry and all those things. Those are the kind of songs I was writing, and I didn't feel like that sticking in, you know, whatever the fuck, Hicktown next to my stuff, I didn't feel like that would do my stuff any justice. I never wanted to do, so I refused to do those things. I would make the DJs play those songs on the breaks. Like if somebody wants to hear it, ask the DJ to play it for you on the break. I'm not doing it. So I went out there and played in every dive bar I could get into. And I had people along the way say, man, you're spinning your wheels. You're never going to make it playing in those places. No one's ever going to recognize you playing the Mustang Lounge or the Starlight. And I said, I know that. I don't expect anyone to ever discover me here, but I'm living my songs. And everything that I write about, I can say that I lived it. I had that gonzo influence that I wanted to buy the ticket and take the ride, you know. I wanted it to be where when people heard my songs, I lived it. And I couldn't stand the thought of having something handed to me. I couldn't stand the thought of of making it, and then the musicians who had struggled and worked for it for years saying that guy had everything handed to him. You know, during my time in those places, I was damn near shot, damn near run over, damn near stabbed. There's a lot of times I didn't think I was going to make it out alive, but the next morning when Sunday morning was coming down, I'm sitting there writing about it. And that's what I wanted to do. I never had the desire to go write a bunch of shit I didn't experience, or say, oh, is boat songs popular? Let's write a boat song now. Oh, is it truck time? We got to write about those. And hey, to those that made a career out of it and did it, I'm not begrudging you, but that was just never Brando. Over the years, I had several opportunities to go to Nashville and record with Nashville songwriters, or write with Nashville songwriters that wrote that kind of stuff. And they would say to me, well, man, if you'll just write one of these songs, get your name on it, get your foot through the door, then you can do what you want to do. And my whole argument was, I don't want my foot to come through the door that way. I don't want to get there that way. I don't want to write a piece of shit and to get there. Because after you write that piece of shit, who takes you seriously after that? You know, that's just something I never had no desire to do. Now, over the years, I got to do a whole lot of cool shit in music. I got to play on a whole lot of cool stages. I got to open up for a lot of my heroes. And I did get to record in Nashville. I got a phone call back in 2013 from a Nashville legend. I'm not going to name drop him here because I don't know that he would agree with all my political stances, and I don't want to throw him under the bus. But, you know, I did record in his studio, recorded a song that I wrote because he liked it, brought me to his studio and recorded it. It was one of the biggest honors of my life to do that. But again, I never wrote off the whole Nashville recording artist line because I recorded one song one time there. You know, and I've always had a disdain for that too. When people tries to write off that, and we know, hey, you just recorded a song in your buddy's basement there. You're not necessarily a Nashville recording artist. So I never had no desire to capitalize on none of that. You know, I just wanted to make music that I felt was an honest reflection of where I came from and who I was. And if it took off, great, and if it didn't, that's fine. But I can tell you this much, had I ever been struck by lightning and say I had made it to some sort of Chris Stapleton level of fame, well, I still would have pissed you guys off the minute they put the microphone in front of my mouth, because I wouldn't have been able to stay quiet on the issues at hand. You know, I've always been drawn to protest music, and I've always been drawn to folk singers, and I've always been drawn to people who rock the boat. That's the kind of music I've always loved the most. And so I'm sure that if I had have succeeded on that level, I'd have still pissed you off the minute they asked me what I thought of Black Lives Matter or what I thought about something else, I would have pissed you off and you'd have been out here burning my albums. Just look at it this way. You didn't have to actually go out and find nothing to burn it. There's a couple of you can throw it in the yard sale if you want to, but that's about it. I don't give a shit. I can tell you that I'm much happier the way things worked out. And I've exploded and blown up doing this, taking the stands that I believe in. And this is how I was introduced to the world, and this is how I came through the door. And it's liberating. I love it. Now I'm not trying to impress people to get on their festival. I'm not trying to impress people to get on their shows. I'm just being me, and they can take it or leave it. My gigs have dried up, and I don't give a fuck. I would much rather sit here in this chair and talk about the issues at hand and what I strongly believe in than to go out and try to appease a bunch of people who's sitting there staring at their fucking phones. Since you all are staring at your fucking phones, you can see my pretty face here saying everything you disagree with, and you can hate on it all day. And the more you hate on it, the more I thrive, and the more I just enjoy it. Because I also always used to love the wrestling villains. I loved Roddy Piper, who was my favorite, man. I loved when Piper busted that record over Captain Lou's head and kicked Cyndi Lauper, you know? And so, yeah, I've got a whole group of people in my comment section that lives here rent-free. I don't even charge them. They live here rent-free, and they hate everything I do, and I love it. You know, it's like Roddy Piper said, did you come to the first WrestleMania to see Hulk Hogan, or did you come to see Hulk Hogan beat up Roddy Piper? Either way, I got you sitting here talking to you. And so I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm not jealous of Kid Rock. I'm not jealous of Jason Aldean. I'm perfectly content in my little corner of the world. I'll say one last thing about this, and I'll shut up. It's funny to me how so many of you guys love to make fun of the fact that I do live in a 2-bedroom single wide trailer. I record a lot of videos in a little shack, and I drive a 2003 Crown Vic. I live paycheck to paycheck, have most of my life. It's funny to me how you guys will say that I'm not country music, and yet you will turn around and embrace artists who lived privileged lives, never walked down a fucking dirt road in their life, never did anything country at all. They just cashed in on the imagery. If that's the kind of people you want, there's plenty of it out there for you. And if you don't like my political commentary, you're free to hit the block button or unsubscribe or whatever the fuck. But I'm done trying to impress people. I don't give a shit what shows I get to play on anymore. Truly, not a fuck is being given over here. So you all have a good one.